New 72 Radio, the voice, views, and visions of the collective.
My name is Mary Burger. Welcome to Diva Talk. And Diva Talk is a show where we talk all about technology. I own a company called ComputerDiva, and you can reach me at www.computerdiva.biz. You can also check out my YouTube channel, which has past episodes of this show, as well as a lot of other technology videos. Just do a search on ComputerDiva. I am on Instagram on ComputerDiva MJB, and I have a Facebook page. I think it's ComputerDiva WA, which stands for Washington. So those are all the ways in which you can reach me. So basic info for the show. If you're watching this video live stream, you've already found the link, www.new72radio.com, and there is a link there for Diva Talk. If you want to call in and ask a question during the show, I welcome that. I think that would be awesome. And the number is 415-762-9988 or 1-646-566-7788. And the meeting number is 590-101-489 #. So Diva Talk is produced by New 72 Media. The producer of the show is Kelly Lair, who works behind the scenes and does an awesome job keeping me on track and keeping this show running smooth. So with all of that said, I had decided a couple of weeks ago, the actual night of the last show, that I had to cancel because I was on the road in California. I actually had recorded a short video for my other show, Waking the Spirit, and I recorded it on my iPad in the hotel room, and it came out so crystal clear in terms of the quality of the video. I'm sure there was probably no difference in sound. Maybe there was, I don't know. But anyway, so I thought, this is really awesome. I just used the camera app on my iPad, and I set it to video, and I recorded the video, which was probably about 10 minutes long, and it came out great. So I thought, okay, so on this week's Diva Talk, I'm going to try using the iPad. And Kelly and I had done a little test over the weekend. I think it was over this past weekend. Anyway, we did a little test, and everything came out okay. But as we were kind of setting up for the show here a few minutes ago, we noticed a lag in the bandwidth, and it was all due to my iPad not being able to process and stream the live video, which kind of sucks. So I'm going to have to invest in a really good quality video camera for my laptop. It's cheaper than buying a new laptop, which I'm not going to do right now because mine it's almost 4 years old. It's about time to replace it. If I took my own advice, I would have replaced it in February. But other things were pulling at my wallet, so I didn't do it. So anyway, I will invest in that high quality video camera, and that way it won't look quite as grainy as it looks now. And ooh, we've got a light back there. I'll just have to sit in front of the light. So anyway, ComputerDiva is my company, and I have owned this company for 8 years now. And when I started the business, I started it as part-time. I had a day job. So I started this part-time doing work in the evenings, and about 1.5 years into the part-time duty of ComputerDiva, my job actually outsourced me, my day job outsourced me, which I was aware that was coming. So it was great. And at that point in time, I took the business full-time, and that's been 6.5 years now. And the business is growing every year. The number of new clients I get increases, and things are going great with the business. So I've learned a lot. And I thought it would be kind of nice to share that with a lot of my customers and even other technicians out there. I mean, I listen to a couple of podcasts that are designed just for computer technicians, for people that own their own business, and they're fabulous. So if maybe other technicians out there are interested in the show, that would be awesome too. So my current business model, and I've talked about this before, it's called a break-fix model. Your computer breaks, I fix it. I started out traveling to various homes and businesses, fixing computers, and it's been a great model. It's been a great way to do business. But I'm finding that my customer base is getting to the size where there's a lot of people pulling on my arms every day, and I'm getting requests for service, several requests every day, and I'm having a hard time keeping up with it while spending my time in the car driving between appointments. So I'm changing my business model. I'm doing a couple of things different. So what I found over the years is that there's pretty much a basic set of functions that you need to perform on your computer to keep it happy and keep it running. And most people don't do that. And so I've come up with a program, Diva Care, which I've talked about on this show before. Diva Care is automated maintenance for your computer. And we take a small little piece of software that we put on your computer. It runs in the background. You don't even know it's there. We provide you with your antivirus software. We provide you with your malware software. We do weekly scans with both of those. And if any viruses or malware are found, we remove them. We make sure all of your Windows updates are installed. And if there are any Windows updates that don't need to be installed, we make sure that we kind of, don't install those. So we kind of, buffer those out. We make sure that we do like a computer tune-up every week on your computer for a small monthly fee. We clean out all the temporary files, we clean out the cookies, we do defrags of your hard drive. We monitor the system alerts. Every laptop keeps detailed logs of everything that happens on the laptop. And if there are critical alerts, I get an email. So if something critical is happening with your computer, I'm notified right away. So it's basically a proactive method of keeping your computer up to date and keeping it maintained, which greatly reduces your risk of actually getting a virus or malware on your system. We update a lot of the third-party pieces of software on your computer, and by third-party software, I mean like Java, Adobe Reader, Adobe Air, Flash. There's a list of about 111 different pieces of software that we could possibly keep up to date. And then you get monthly reports on what's happened with your computer. So that's kind of the new model that I'm heading into. It's called managed services. And in order to make that transition, I'm having to make some changes in my business. And it may not be popular with some of my clients, but I have to do it. So one of those changes is that instead of spending my days going out on site for appointments, I am trying to structure my days so that my mornings between 8 and 12 are spent in my office. I usually find that if I have a full day of appointments, if I hit the road at 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm out until 5 or 6 at night, and just a full day of appointments, I'm going from one appointment, I hop in the car, I go to the next one, and it's nonstop. And during the day, my email doesn't stop, my phone calls don't stop. I get requests through Facebook Instant Messenger. I get requests through just regular text messages. So I've got all these different ways that people are throwing requests at me all during the day. So what happens is when I'm in an appointment with a client, I will not answer the phone. It's just my policy. I will not answer the phone. It's it's only fair to the client that I'm working with at that point in time. They are paying for my time. They deserve my full attention. So my phone gets shut off while I'm in an appointment with a client, and I'll turn it back on when I leave that appointment. But my other philosophy is, when I'm driving in the car, I really don't want to make phone calls because it's dangerous. I've seen way too many people on the streets and on the freeways texting, talking on the phone, and they're not paying any attention to where they're going. And I don't want to be that person. So it leaves me very little time during my day to actually get back to all those people who are making requests of me. So as a consequence, I get home in the evening and I try really hard to get back to all those people and set up appointments and get that stuff done. But it's becoming increasingly difficult because my days are so packed and so busy. By the time I get home, I'm really tired. So that's the reason why I'm making the change for mornings in the office doing remote work. And just because I'm in the office doesn't mean I'm not taking care of my clients. I have the full ability to log into my clients' computers and get their issues taken care of. I would have to say about 90% of what I do, I can do on a remote basis. There's very few reasons why I actually need to go out on site to fix a computer. The only reasons are it's a hardware issue. It's either a hardware issue, which is really rare these days, or it's setting up new technology. So what I'm trying to do is leave the mornings for those phone calls, those remote jobs that I can do. And while I'm doing these remote jobs, I could sit here in front of my computer. I can log into several computers at the same time. So I can handle a lot more work by being in my office, and I can get my clients taken care of faster if I'm in my office. And while I'm doing that remote work, I could easily work on 3 or 4 computers at the same time. I can still be answering my email. I can still be fielding those phone calls, and I could do a good job taking care of everybody. So I think the message I want to get across here is for those clients of mine who are listening, I'm not doing this. How do I want to put this? Well, I know a lot of you really enjoy having me come out to your home or your place of business, and it's not because I don't want to see you. It's because I want to get you taken care of, and I want to get the other customers taken care of. So that's kind of the long-winded explanation as to why I'm doing this. And the reason I'm announcing this now is because I'm putting it out there. I'm putting that energy out there that I am dedicated to spending my mornings in my office. There's only one exception on Wednesday mornings where I won't be in my office, but that's for a very good reason. But Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, I will be in my office between 8 and 12. And then in the afternoons, I'm happy to either stay in my office or go out on appointments. I really would like to get everybody trained to have me stay in my office. So anyway, I've put that out there, and that's kind of my way of holding me accountable for making sure I stick to those hours, because knowing my personality, I will drop from that. And because I've got the phone call from someone who says, I really need you to come out tomorrow morning. And I like to make people happy. I'm a people pleaser, so I usually say yes. So I'm holding myself accountable that I will be in my office between 8 and 12, 4 mornings a week. Okay, so with that said, I have a whole list of things I want to talk about. And in along that same vein, like I said, I'm getting phone calls, I'm getting emails to Mary at ComputerDiva.biz. I've got my support email address. I also have a help desk email address that I use for my help desk software. The support email is all being forwarded to help desk. And then I get text messages and I get Facebook private messages. I need to put the request out there that if you need my services, by all means pick up the phone and call me. That would be awesome. But the absolute fastest way to get my attention is to send an email to tech support, TECHSUPPORT, at ComputerDiva.biz. that request will go into my help desk software, which means I'm not going to have to take a regular email or a text message or a Facebook private message and copy and paste it into my help desk software, which only takes a few minutes to do. But when I'm getting 10, maybe 12 requests a day, it takes a while to do that. So if you can help me out and use that email address or pick up the phone and call me, either one of those two methods, fabulous. I would love it. But try and stay away from text messages. Try and stay away from Facebook instant messaging if at all possible. So, okay, so that's out there. So with that said, I'm going to take a look at my notes here. Let me just minimize these windows here. So I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about what are the projects that I have on my workbench. And my workbench is everything that's sitting here behind me. I've got a U-shaped office here. I've got the desk in front of me. I can turn around. So on 3 walls in my office, I've got the U-shaped desk, and it's the track system that you see back there on the walls, and I can hang as many shelves as I want, and I've got my desk at the proper 36-inch height. I think that's it. At any rate, so my workbench is anything that's around and behind me, and I can put lots of computers on the workbench. So what I've got on my bench right now, I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things that I've got going on. So I had a client today who dropped off their Windows 7 laptop. I wasn't here, but they dropped it off for me and left me with a note here of what's wrong with it. So, so he says he uses Firefox exclusively. That's great. So a couple of things that's going on. He has very little disk space left on his computer. He writes here on the C drive, he only has 3 megabytes of space left on the hard drive, which is practically nothing. I'm surprised the computer will even turn on. And then there's some issue with some icons down in the taskbar. It's not remembering previous websites or passwords. Firefox is constantly giving him crash reports. And I can pretty much guarantee you that all of that is due to the lack of disk space on the C drive. So, I put that on the bench when I got home today, and the first thing I did was I booted it up, and I actually was able to get into Windows, which was great. So with something like this, I took a look at the hard drive, and it was 100% full. So what I did was I took a little utility that is called WinDirStat, WinDirStat, and it takes up a very small footprint on the computer. And so I installed that on the computer, and I had it run a scan. And it's really interesting how this works. It will go through all of your directory structure, and it will show in each directory how much space that directory is taking up. So your documents folder, it will show me how much space. And then it sorts it by those folders taking the most space at the top down to those folders taking the least space at the bottom. So you can quickly see by looking at the top as it's scanning and going through, it will sort it, and you can see where all the data is on the computer, what's taking up all the space on the hard drive. And it was really interesting because this one was showing that it was in the Windows folder, and specifically the logs folder. The hard drive on this computer is 75 gigabyte hard drive. So that tells you how old this computer is. It's running Windows 7. 72 gigabytes of the data on that hard drive was sitting in the log folder, in the Windows logs folder, which was amazing. I was shocked that the computer, like I said, I'm shocked that the computer even booted up. So it was a simple fix. I went into the logs folder. I deleted all but the most recent file, the log file, and it freed up probably 60 gigabytes at least, maybe a little bit more. So now there's plenty of room on that computer. I actually ran an automated Diva tune-up on it. I did a malware and virus scan, came out clean. And now it's ready for the client to pick it up. It was really an easy fix. So the key here is if you're running out of space on your hard drive, that little utility WinDirStat that will tell you what's taking up all that space. So that was awesome. So that's the first thing that's on my bench. Then I've got another computer. It's a MacBook Pro. It belongs to one of my clients, and I actually worked on this MacBook yesterday. Outlook was not opening. So this MacBook Pro, it has VMware on it, and VMware is a program that allows you to run Windows software, and we're running Windows 7, in a separate window inside the Mac. So you can bounce back and forth between the Mac side of the computer and the Windows side of the computer. So I worked on it yesterday because Outlook would not open on the Windows side. It just was stuck. And it turned out that the virtual drive, here's another issue with drive space, the virtual drive in the VMware side of this MacBook Pro, the virtual drive was completely maxed out. There was no space left. We had allocated 160 gigabytes to the virtual drive, but it obviously wasn't enough. I just checked it right before I went to California, the week before I went to California, and I had plenty of space. So I had to delete the VMware snapshot and then increase the size of the virtual drive, which took about 2 hours to do. And everything's working beautifully. My client texted me last night at 11:30, and it was back to its old ways. So I went and picked up the MacBook this morning. It's sitting on my bench behind me, and in the next few days, first of all, I'm going to back it up to make sure that everything's backed up properly and correctly and that we're not missing any data. Then I'm going to wipe it clean. I'm going to reinstall a fresh copy of OS X version 10.11, El Capitan, and I will install the latest version of VMware. I will install Windows 7 inside the VMware, and then we'll get all the data back on there. We'll get everything running shipshape. I will allocate a much larger portion of the hard drive to VMware. We have a 2 terabyte hard drive. So we've got a solid state drive in the MacBook Pro that contains the operating system and all the apps for the Mac side, which makes the MacBook Pro run super, super fast. And we've got 16 gigs of RAM, and we've got about half of that allocated to VMware. And I know I'm getting a little technical here, so forgive me here. But so I'm going to allocate probably 500 gigabytes to the Windows side of this computer when I build it. So it's best to do it up front. And since we have plenty of room, I'm going to do that. And hopefully that will make all the difference in the world to the other thing I think I'm going to do here is we've got Office 365. We've got the 2016 version. I have started to hear some stuff about Outlook 2016 that makes me think that maybe I should kind of downgrade to 2013 for this MacBook. A couple of the podcasts I've been listening to by other technicians are starting to say that there's, a few issues with Outlook 2016. So I'm going to downgrade this particular MacBook Pro to 2013. So anyway, that's going to be on my workbench for a couple of days. So let's see, what else do I have? The third laptop that I've got on my workbench, it's actually my sister's laptop. And she sent it back home with me when I was in California recently. And the laptop itself has died, but it's got a lot of photos on it that my sister would love to have retrieved. And so I'm going to yank the hard drive out of that, hook it up to probably my little service laptop over here on my left, and extract all the photos off of it, put it on a thumb drive similar to this, and ship it back to my sister. So I'll get that done over the next several days, hopefully. And then the other thing that I'm dealing with right now that's kind of an interesting issue is I have a pub as a client, and She will probably eventually see this video, so I'm not going to say names, but you know who you are. So anyway, this pub has a camera system inside where they've got cameras in all the rooms pointing down. So, you know, you can sit on your iPad with the camera software and you can see the camera pointing down into the kitchen. You can see it pointing down into the bar, into the dining area, into the cleanup area, there's a little, I think, video poker room in there. So there's cameras everywhere. There's like 6 or 7 cameras. And when I was at their home the other day, we could not get the camera software running on any of their devices, on their iMac, on their iPads. We just couldn't get it running. So we had this problem in the past, and it turned out that Comcast had changed the external IP address on the internet line, and that caused the issues. So easy peasy to fix. I went to the pub, I found out the new IP address, plugged it into the camera software, and we were good to go. So last night I got home and I thought, I'm going to try the camera app now that I'm connected to my network, and I'm going to see if it works. So I went into the camera app on my iPad, and boom, all the cameras started displaying the videos of the restaurant, the pub. And so it tells me it wasn't a change in the IP address that happened last time. And so it's most likely something to do with my client's home network. So I need to schedule an appointment to get back there next week, and maybe it's a firewall issue. We just put in a new Wi-Fi router the other day, a beefy Wi-Fi router. So it could be something in there. It could be something in the Comcast modem. They have a business class Comcast modem in their home. So could be something in there. So we need to troubleshoot that. So that is on my bench. So what else have I got going on? So what did I deal with today? So today, I actually delivered a laptop back to a client. It was an old Lenovo laptop that actually had Windows Vista running on it. So if you are running Windows Vista on any of your computers, you need to know that the end-of-life support date for Windows Vista is April 11th, 2017. That will be the day that Microsoft will no longer support Vista at all. They will no longer release security updates for Vista. And, we went through this 2 years ago with Windows XP, when Windows stopped supporting XP. And basically what this does, now I've explained this before, but I'll explain it again. What happens is, on the second Tuesday of every month, Microsoft releases their patches for the month. And when they do computer patches, they'll have the same fix across all platforms. So the same fix on Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, 8.1, and Windows 10, and soon to be Windows 10 Anniversary Edition. So the fixes get applied across the board. So once a particular version of the operating system is taken out of support, the hackers of the world who create the viruses and the malware, they will get that monthly report of what's being fixed that month, and they'll say, oh, okay, here's a few security flaws that we could possibly exploit to take our malicious software and shove it into your computer and do some damage, maybe get you to call me, and or call them and give them a credit card number, and so that they can scam you. So they get that list, and they build that virus and that malware to push into your computer, and they target it to that unsupported operating system. So right now, if the past 2 years, a lot of viruses targeted towards Windows XP computers. Next April 11th, after that date, there will be a lot of viruses created that will be targeted towards Windows Vista computers. What you also need to know is the virus software companies, antivirus software companies, Kaspersky, Norton, McAfee, AVG, all of those out there, they will stop supporting their software on Windows Vista. So if you have a Windows Vista computer, you have 9 months to plan for the replacement of that computer. So I digress. So that's my little speech on Windows Vista and end of life. So anyway, this was a Lenovo Vista laptop. that the client had called me and said he had applied some Windows updates and the computer booted and it asked him for a password. He had never had a password on this laptop before. So, of course, he didn't know what the password was, and he couldn't log into the laptop. So I think I picked this up on Monday or Tuesday, and was really short on time, so I picked it up and I said, I'm going to take it back to my workbench. I'm going to run my password encryption or decryption software against it. I have 4 or 5 different software packages that I could run on a computer to find out the password or just erase the password, but none of them were working. So that kind of told me a story about that laptop. And what I kind of deduced on the laptop was that it had a corrupted user profile. So with the corrupted user profile, the way to fix that is to log in as a different user, typically a user with administrative rights. So you want to make sure that the administrator user is enabled on the computer, and log in as that administrator and fix the profile. Either that or create a new user profile. Well, we couldn't do any of that. He only had one login for that computer, so we couldn't do any of that. Nothing I tried worked. I tried doing a recovery with a Windows Vista CD, boot CD. Nothing would work. So I finally said, look, this laptop is 7 or 8 years old. Not sure how much time you want me to put into it, but the best thing to do, he had assured me that all his data was backed up. So I said, well, the best thing for us to do is take it back to factory defaults. So the Lenovo laptop has a little blue button on the keyboard at the top where when you boot it up, you just keep pressing this button until it goes into recovery mode. It's really kind of an ingenious feature. And so I did that and brought it back to factory defaults and delivered it back to him today. And the client was really happy with it. The laptop was running a whole lot faster than it had been in a long time. And after I took it back to him, he said to me, there wasn't that much hard drive space left. So here's the 3rd computer in 1 week that it's a hard drive space issue. So, it very well could be that the lack of space corrupted the user profile somehow. Who knows? Those kind of things are really hard to figure out. So my philosophy is let's not waste a whole lot of time figuring out how it happened or why it happened. Let's get it fixed. I'm sure the user doesn't want to pay my hourly rate so that I can sit there and research and figure out why it happened. So at any rate, so he seemed to be happy. And we might actually be installing DivaCare on his wife's computer. We can't put it on his because I don't support Windows Vista for DivaCare, but we may put it on his wife's computer because she has a brand new laptop that we set up about a month ago. So that was the first thing I dealt with today after going down to Oregon to pick up the MacBook that I'm going to be working on this weekend. So I delivered that laptop. Client was happy. So the next thing I dealt with today, one of my chiropractic offices, I deal with a couple of them. They have an HP all-in-one touchscreen computer that they use in their reception area for their clients to check in. And it's really awesome. The client just walks up and on the pin pad, they type in their phone number and they go through this whole questionnaire about, what is bothering them today, where the pain is, how intense it is. It's really awesome. But that computer had been really acting up a lot lately, and it's 5 years old. So it's to kind of be expected. So when they told me about this yesterday, I said, okay, I go in there every Thursday at 1 o'clock. And I said, when I go in there tomorrow, I'm just going to reset it back to factory defaults. We'll reload the chiropractor software and we'll get you up and running. And so that's what I did today. I was actually there for 3 hours today and got that all done. We have a few minor things left to do to it before we can unleash it on the public tomorrow. But that was job number 3 today. Let's see, what else did I do? a Windows 10 computer that kept getting website not found messages. Oh, yeah, this was one of my new Diva Care clients. She would go out to the internet and she'd go to certain websites and, website not found, error 404. And so when she called me this morning, I said, I'll call you when I get back to my office today, and I'll connect to your computer and we'll figure out what's going on. So it didn't take long to figure that out. The first thing I did was I flushed the DNS cache. So that kind of, it's like taking out the trash. It kind of cleared out the databases for the internet, and then I reset that cache, and then I started taking a look at the network connection, and it was showing that the network card was set to a public connection. So you can have public or private connections on your internet device, either your wired connection or your wireless connection. With a public connection, Windows is designed to kind of keep you safe. So it assumes you're in a public place, you're on unsecured Wi-Fi, so it will kind of lock down your computer a little bit more than if you were on a private connection. So I switched it from a public to a private connection. And we went to all sorts of websites, and we didn't get the error 404 website not found error. So that took about 10 minutes to do. So a couple of things that I've dealt with recently, I thought you guys might find this interesting. And I'm just going to check here. Let's see. Just want to make sure that there's nobody out there who has a question for me, and I don't see anybody. So a couple of things that I've dealt with recently. I had a client that I went to, I'm thinking it was Friday of last week, and we were talking about their MacBook, their iPad, their iPhone, and they had questions for me. And the questions were, can you tell me the difference between my Apple account, my iCloud account, and my data account? And we were specifically focusing on the iPhone and the iPad at this point. And it's a really good question because this confuses a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people with iOS devices, Apple devices, and usually, so when you install an update for an iPhone, for instance, it will install the update, and then it takes you to the wizard, where it walks you through the wizard to set up the new software. So in the wizard, first of all, it's going to ask you to put in your Apple password. So you type in the Apple password, you tap next or OK or whatever it is that the button says, and you go on, and pretty soon it pops up and it asks you for the password again. And I know from experience that I don't always read everything on those screens, and I know my clients don't read everything on those screens. So it pops up, and it's asking for a password again, and they're going, what? I just put the password in at the last screen. Why are you asking me for it again? So people assume, okay, I've typed in the wrong password, so they type it again. And sometimes it will come back up a third time and ask you for another password. Well, if you stop and you read the screens, the first time it's asking you for your Apple password. The second time it's asking you for an iCloud password. It may ask you for your messaging password, and it may ask you for a FaceTime password. So you can be asked for up to 4 different times for that password, and it all can be the same thing. And it's very confusing, and I'm not sure why it's done this way or if it could be done any better. I really don't know. I'm not an engineer. So anyway, so you have the ability on your iOS devices, your Apple devices. So when they first came out with the iPhone and they had the App Store, okay, now you have to create an Apple account in case you want to buy something from the store. So your phone is now tied to an Apple account. And it's usually your email address, and then you create the password. So you've got your Apple ID and password. That's the first login that Apple created. Then, I don't know, 3 or 4 years later, when they invented iCloud, They said you can use your Apple account for your iCloud account, so they can both be the same, or you can use a separate email address for your iCloud account. And that came in handy for families. Maybe the husband and wife use the same Apple ID because they're sharing their app purchases. Maybe they're purchasing books that they both want to read, music that they both wanted to have on their devices. But yet when it came to the iCloud account, they want to keep those separate. And so the iCloud account is the account that contains all of your data for your contacts, your calendars. It could be notes. It backs up your pictures. It will back up any Apple documents, pages, numbers, that kind of stuff. And a lot of times with a husband and wife, those are all separate. The husband doesn't want to share his contacts with the wife and vice versa. They may not want to have the same calendar. So Apple said, okay, with iCloud, you can separate your accounts. If you both want to have the same Apple ID to share your purchases, you can have a separate iCloud ID so you don't have to share your data. So that's what the iCloud ID is for. And then there's the data account. Because sometimes it will ask you to log into your data account. Now that has nothing to do with Apple. The data account is actually from your cellular provider, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T. When you purchase that phone, you get your data account. You get so many gigabytes of data to use per month. And the data account is used to get you internet access and to send data through the internet when you are not connected to Wi-Fi. So you pay for that data every month. And if there's been an update to the data software, the actual carrier software, it might ask you for that data password. So that, and it could be the same email address. So that confuses people. And then, like I said, a lot of times when you're doing major upgrades, and I've seen this on the MacBooks a lot. I've seen it on my MacBook. When I do a major annual upgrade, it will then ask me, okay, what's your Messenger password? And what's your FaceTime password? And it can get very annoying. So anyway, I sat down and I explained all of that to my client, and he seemed to be very satisfied with the fact that he now knows what all of this is. So bottom line, I think the tidbit of information you can get out of this explanation is the fact that when you update your Apple devices, pay attention to the screens where it's asking you for a password, because each screen is going to be a different password. All right, how are we doing for time? Okay, we're doing pretty good. So let's talk a little bit about technology news. So Windows 10 came out a year ago. It was actually July 29th of last year. So it's been out for almost a year, and Microsoft released it and said anybody on Windows 7, Windows 8, actually Windows 7 or 8.1 could get it for free. If you're on Windows 8, you had to upgrade to 8.1 before you can go to Windows 10. Not sure why they didn't have that migration path from 8 to 10, but I'm sure there was a good reason for it. So anyway, it's been out for a year now. I really like Windows 10. It took just a little bit of time to get used to, but it's such an improvement over Windows 8. So it's been out for almost a year now. It's been free. And I'd say here a couple of months ago, Apple started aggressively pushing Windows 10 out. And I've talked about that on this show before. And it frustrated a lot of people. People who said, you know, they woke up one morning and boom, now their computer was on Windows 10 instead of whatever it was on before. And they were frustrated. They didn't want Windows 10. They had heard a lot of bad things about Windows 10. There's always going to be bad things and bad rumors going around about every operating system that is released. Don't let that scare you off. A lot of people that scare them off about Windows 8, which was a really good thing. Windows 8.1 was a huge improvement over 8. You know, there's very few Windows 8 computers out there anymore. every now and then I run across a Windows 8 computer and I have to figure out how to navigate around, and I have to figure out how do I get out of this window and how do I get out of that window, and where do I swipe over here on this side to get the little charms bar, and I hate that charms bar. But very few Windows 8 computers out there anymore. So anyway, what I'm leading up to here is Microsoft is going to be releasing Windows 10 Anniversary Edition on August 2nd. I don't know too much info about how they're going to release it, whether they're going to do it like they did with Windows 10, where they only released it to so many computers at one time, and one morning you would wake up and there was a little icon down in your taskbar that said, "Ooh, your computer, you are now eligible for Windows 10." So I'm assuming they'll be doing the same thing for Windows 10 Anniversary Edition. I didn't have time to kind of outline everything that's going to be included in the Anniversary Edition, but a lot of major feature upgrades, I'm sure. I know a lot of improvements to Cortana, which is the Siri equivalent. It's the virtual assistant. So here's what I say about major upgrades. And I'll say it about Windows 10 Anniversary Edition. I'll say it about OS X major upgrades, which is for the MacBooks, Apple MacBooks, which always come out in October. I will say it about iOS. I don't really say it about Android because I don't have any Android devices that I use. I've got an Android tablet, but as much as I love it, I don't use it. So what I'm going to say about these major upgrades is don't upgrade right away unless you have an appetite for dealing with the unknown, unless you have an appetite for change. Do not update your computer as soon as Windows 10 Anniversary Edition comes out. I am going to upgrade my computer as soon as I possibly can. I will document the process. I will talk about it in an upcoming show. I probably won't have it ready for the next show, which is going to be, let me pull up my calendar here. Next show, which would be August 4th. That will be right after Windows 10 Anniversary Edition. We could probably have some really good conversations about what transpired the first couple of days after the release of the Anniversary Edition. So maybe that's what my next show will be about. But I'm sure I probably won't upgrade until that weekend if I am available and free. So I would say don't upgrade right away. Give it at least 6 months. That 6 months is a crucial time for the manufacturer, whether it be Microsoft or Apple, to get the software out there and get the bug fixes out there, because there will be bugs. And if you don't have an appetite for dealing with that, don't upgrade. So give it 6 months. Pay attention to what I have to say about it, and I'll make sure that hopefully it goes smooth for you. And so that's Windows 10 Anniversary Edition. Let's see, a fun fact here. I thought I would throw a fun fact into the show. The world's last manufacturer of VCRs is going to cease production of those VCRs at the end of July. And that is a company over in Japan. So the VCR, let's see, it stood for Video Cassette Recorder, was released in 1976 in Japan, and it came over to the United States in 1977. And it was the big hot thing. It kind of revolutionized the watching of TV. It was the first time where you could actually record something that you were watching. You recorded it on this, big paperback book-sized device, tape. It was actually had tape inside of it, and it recorded the show onto the tape, and you could watch it later. It was pretty awesome. VCRs will cease to be produced at the end of July. So a whole industry popped up around the VCR. There were repair people. My younger brother actually went to VCR repair school, and he, he knew how to repair VCRs, and so he's got that knowledge base, which does him no good now. But he's moved on, and he's doing really well. So anyway, so the VCR stores where you would go and rent tapes, you would rent movies. It was a huge deal. Put the family in the car, let's go down to the video store, and we'll rent 2 or 3 movies, and we'll go home and watch them with popcorn. And the cool thing was, oh yeah, now I get to pause the movie if I wanted to go get something else to eat, if I needed to use the restroom. It was pretty awesome. That whole industry has totally died off. Of course, it was replaced with DVDs, and DVD rental stores have kind of died out. Most of them are gone. Redbox is probably the best place to get them, and Netflix. But it won't be long before DVDs kind of go by the wayside. Everything's being transmitted and downloaded over the internet. Everybody's streaming. I remember one of the other things about the VCR tapes, the movies, was once you finished watching it, you actually had to rewind the entire tape, and if you took it back to the video store and it wasn't rewound, they charged you $1, a rewind fee, which was kind of funny, but everybody made sure that they had to rewind all their movies. Let's see. What else can we talk about? Oh, okay. All right. So Pokemon Go. So I talked about Pokemon Go. I did a couple of short Diva Talks last week. I think I did 2 or 3 of them, posted them on my YouTube page. And I talked about Pokemon Go. Now, Pokemon Go was released in the United States 15 days ago on July 6th. And it has been the fastest growing phenomenon ever. There's never been anything like this ever before. And at first I thought, well, this is kind of ridiculous. Everybody's out there, their eyes are glued to their phones, and they're catching these Pokemons. And I'm not a game player. I have never been a video game player. I have no interest. They put me to sleep. And so I've never done anything like that. I mean, I went through a phase where I had I think it was a Nintendo, and played the Mario Brothers. That was a lot of fun. And I actually do have a Wii, and I play that every now and then. But it's just not something that holds my attention. So Pokemon Go, I thought, yeah, not interested. But Pokemon Go is amazing. It's amazing because for how long did I say it's been 15 days? You can drive down the street, you can pass by any park, and you see dozens of people out there. They're getting exercise. They're getting out of the house. They're getting exercise. They're meeting new people. You've got families, parents taking their kids out, and kids who normally would be sitting at home in front of the video games. And so now they're out in the park. They're enjoying themselves. They're having fun. They're conversing with strangers. I think it's a really cool thing. I love the fact that these people are doing this, and they're getting out, and they're getting out of the house and getting fresh air and getting exercise. So it was the fastest app to ever reach 10 million downloads. It only took, what do my notes say here, 7 days for 10 million downloads of Pokemon Go. And it's also responsible for this huge uptick in fitness tracking. And what I mean by that is your Fitbits, the walking apps. Oh, I've got a couple of them on my phone. What are they called? Map My Walk. That's it. Map My Walk. So of course, people track that, and it goes into a huge database. So these companies are seeing that there's tons of exercise activity going on. People are walking miles and miles and miles every day. And so it's good for the health of America. So I say, yay, Pokemon Go. Now, I actually downloaded Pokemon Go on my phone last Saturday. I was in the car going to a winery, and I was sitting in the back seat, so I wasn't driving. So I downloaded Pokemon Go, and I thought, what's the big deal? So, and I still think, what's the big deal? But, it was kind of fun to sit in the back seat and, see all the Pokemons on the side of the road. Of course, I was too far away from them to capture them. There were a couple that I captured. And then I saw these big towers that were the gyms. And of course, I have to get to level 4 or 5 before I can actually go to a gym. I think I'm on level 2, and I haven't picked it up for days. And I probably won't. But, I just kind of wanted to see what the big deal was. So what you need to know, though, about Pokemon Go is that it takes up your data plan. And we talked about the data plan earlier. So if you are out roaming around for hours every day looking for Pokemons, whatever it is they call them, you're using your data plan. You're not connected to Wi-Fi like you would be at home. So be aware of it. And I can guarantee you that probably sometime in the next few weeks when people's cell phone bills start to hit, we're going to hear a big outcry of how much it costs them to play Pokemon Go. So anyway, last thing I want to leave you with is just a little tidbit of advice here. So not really tidbit advice. I'm busy reading my notes while I'm talking. It's convention time. The Republican convention is wrapping up as we speak, and I'm thankful to be doing this show right now and not listening to the man with the bad hair talk. If you enjoy watching the conventions, which I'll watch a little bit of it, and I'll probably watch a little bit of the Democratic convention next week. And if you're into technology and you follow along with Twitter, there's some hashtags that you probably should be aware of. So for the convention that's ending tonight, hashtag RNCINCLE. So Republican National Convention in CLE for Cleveland. Or hashtag GOP convention. So you can plug those hashtags into your Twitter account into the search, and you can see what everybody is talking about the convention when they tag with those hashtags. And it can be pretty interesting. So next week for the Democratic convention, the hashtags are DEMSIN Philly, so Dems in Philly, and hashtag Dem Convention, DEM Convention. Great way to catch up on what people are saying while they're either at the convention or just talking about the convention. So with that said, I am going to wrap up for tonight. I've been talking for an hour now, and I hope I've given you all a lot of really good information. I hope you come back and listen to the show in 2 weeks, which would be August 4th. We will be talking about Windows 10 Anniversary Edition. And the show, the replay of the show, the recording, it's being recorded. Kelly is recording this in the background, and she will be doing her production work on it tomorrow and posting it up on the new 72 Media YouTube page. And sometime this weekend, I'll be posting it up on the ComputerDiva YouTube page. So there's 2 different places where you can get it. I don't care where you go to watch it. I'll be posting links to those on social media so that you can catch it, and please share that with your friends. I really, truly hope that the information I give you, you find useful, you find entertaining, and you come back and watch again. So with that said, a couple of things that are coming up for New 72 Media. They have a whole host of radio shows. They also have what they call the Portal of Awareness, and it's basically portals that get opened up during various times of the week or the day, various hours, and there's various subjects that you tune into the portal. Maybe you just tune in and you put your energy out there for 10 or 15 minutes for whatever the subject is, and then you go about your day. So the upcoming portals, there's the Healing Gaia portal. There's 3 next week. Sunday at 7 a.m., Tuesday at 8 a.m., and Thursdays at 10 a.m. So you've got 3 different opportunities to watch the Healing Gaia portal. And then The Technology Healing Portal, which I host, is open every Monday morning at 7 a.m. News72.com, and you can get into the portal of awareness and get into those spots. And it's really kind of a wonderful, relaxing way to spend, whether it be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a half hour, an hour, what have you. And there are special portals that will be opened at various times of the day for various reasons. And those are always posted on the New 72 Media webpage. The Facebook page. So check that out. It's kind of a cool thing. I love it. And I think it's a really nice thing. So with that said, I want to say thank you to Kelly Lair for being in the background and producing this show, making sure everything goes off without a hitch. Thank you to New 72 Media for actually giving me this opportunity to host this show. And I will see everyone back here in 2 weeks, August 4th at 7 p.m. And we'll be talking about Windows 10 Anniversary Edition. Bye, everyone.